You might remember this guy, Chong, from our last episode. He's the chef and owner of Lao Sum Ki Noodle in Hong Kong. As the name implies, this restaurant specializes in custom, handmade noodles called bamboo noodles. They're not made from bamboo, just eggs and flour, although bamboo is included in the noodle making process, as you'll see in a minute. That process is one started by Chong's grandfather, who taught Chong's father, who taught Chong himself. The man isn't just making noodles, he's carrying on a family tradition. The mighty noodles start as a humble circle of flour, which is actually imported from Canada. Eggs, of both the chicken and duck variety, are cracked into the middle and mixed by hand. Once one batch of eggs is mixed, another is added, as the mound of flour slowly transforms into workable dough. At some point, Chong will add a bit of alkaline water to the mixture. If you add enough, it will act as a preservative, allowing you to make large batches of dough to prepare later on. But for the daily batches, of which Chong makes about 3 to 4 each day, just enough is added to give the noodles a slightly more chewy texture. A nice, bouncy feel. Soon enough, the dough is ready to be shaped into a long, flat roll. But your grandma's rolling pin isn't going to cut it for this stuff. Rather, here's where that bamboo I was talking about earlier comes in. A long cylinder is fit into a special mount in the wall, which Chong will sit on, using his whole body weight to compress the dough one section at a time, making the dough thin enough to move on to the next step. While we watched him toil away, imagining spending hours making something that hungry diners will devour in seconds, I thought about the fact that Chong is the only guy that makes these noodles. And I suspect the reason is more a matter of legacy than it is the technicality of the task. Yes, he could hire someone else to make the noodles for him. The process is made up of discrete tasks which could necessarily be performed by anyone. But there's something special about walking the same path of the people that brought you into this world. The room in which we watched Chong bring these noodles into being was incredibly hot and literally covered in flour. But to the noodle chef, it's the place where these noodles have been made for his entire life. He is just making noodles, but he's also continuing the work of his father and his father's father, allowing them to live on through his labor. When the dough reaches the appropriate thinness, it's time to let the machines do the work. Some of it, anyway. The dough is put through the first machine 10 times, which thins the dough out to under 2 centimeters. Then, he tells us, he lets the dough rest for about 10 minutes. Or it might be the chef that needs a rest. He's only human. Then it's on to machine number 2, which refines the dough and adds a bit more flour. Chong tells us that they bought this machine 30 years ago. Before that, this whole process was done completely with bamboo rods, which took a much larger amount of time. I guess the bamboo cylinder we saw is the last remnant of what used to be an all bamboo process. Finally, when the dough is essentially one long, flat noodle, it's run through a third machine, which shreds it into many noodles. Apparently, the batch that we witnessed being prepared is enough for 140 servings of noodles. Once those are ready, Chong will start in the next batch. It's interesting to think that each of those 140 people may or may not appreciate the fact that the food they're eating was carefully and lovingly handmade by a grandson walking in the footsteps of his fathers. There are so many chefs like Chong, devoting their lives to creating food for others. Some in the spotlight, and others under a regular old light bulb in a flour-covered room. The crew of Secret Informant got to see a process that not many people do, and for that, I'm thankful. And I'm thankful to you for watching this video. That's it for this one. It was a slightly different type of video for us. This series is produced by Tattle, which is a platform connecting savvy locals with curious explorers. Check them out on social media and sign up for the newsletter at the link in the description. Big thanks to Lao Sumki Noodle for having us again, and thanks to Chung for letting us in on the family secret. Make sure to subscribe to Tattle for more videos like this from Secret Informant.